Hello, and welcome to another video. I'm going to be going over concentration and fury. I'm going to be starting with concentration. So this is my loadout on my current, combat style. I'll regen here so you guys can see like a quick selection of my points. I'm only using Zenith right now because I was testing it last night, and I didn't realize it also increased critical hit damage. So this is actually really good for single target. The trauma one seems also very good. Our gear is not great, so that 15% more damage isn't actually that much more damage. However, the trauma would be permanently up, making this very good. I assume when we get better gear, or gear actually starts working in PvP, this will be a pretty decent option to Zenith. And then the AoE Raging Burst / Focus Burst is incredibly good. This is what I usually use, but I really want to try Zenith, so I want to leave it here for Zenith, because I want to try this later today, or later today. I always take Predation. I don't feel like we can ever afford either of these. Predation is just too good, and its group utility is just too good. And then moving on to the next one. This one, Zealous Annihilation, is really good for regs, and I would say you could probably take this in... it's not really good for regs. It's really good for like heroics and whatnot, just killing ads and doing story and whatnot. If you're leveling your character, I highly recommend using this because it's amazing. But in regs, probably the only time you can get this to work is if your team is just able to destroy the enemy team super fast. And even then, I'm not really sure that it's even worth it. This one is really nice. You can actually feel the difference. It's only 13,000 Azorb, which doesn't seem that much, but it helps. Every little bit helps, especially when people are missing a lot of defensives. But at the same time, taking this one, Zealous Revelation, having the extra centering at all times just changes your rotation to the point that you only use like one slash, and you don't have to use like a Ravage or really Dual Saber Throw ever, like in your PvE rotation for instance. This allows you to pretty much only use heavy hitters pretty much all the time, which is really nice. But it really just depends. Like, you're going to have to get used to using criticality, for example, so also learning the extra centering, kind of like rotation, might be a little bit too much if you've played Concentration or Fury before, because it's going to be a slight learning curve. And then for these selections, I feel like none of these are good, except for criticality. Criticality is just so good. This description's not even correct, by the way. It doesn't just increase by 25%. It's that as soon as you pop Berserk, you get a stack of criticality, so I'll just go ahead and do that, which is called Zen for Sentinel. You get this auto crit, this thing right here, so I'm going to move this up just a little bit so you can see that. So your next attack critically hits, no matter what. That turns into basically a super crit. So that can be used on leap. So you want to make sure that you don't Zen / Berserk before you actually leap. Because if you do that, you're kind of screwed. Because it wastes it on leap. I don't know why it still does that. I hope that that'll be fixed in the next patch. Sometimes I take AoE. Most of the time I don't. Double leap is really nice because that means you can almost always sit on one charge. And when you do have to use your second charge, you'll probably have another charge back up. So you'll pretty much always sit on one charge, and this is why I take it, because it's very good. I don't see a reason to take this anymore. There's not that much CC left in the game, and you don't have rage management issues at all on concentration, so it's not that useful. This is a complete dead talent for PvP. There's like very low uptime or percentage use for this. In PvE, it's a thing, I think. Cyclone Slash, there's realistically no reason you would take this over like Zealous Ward, for example. It's definitely an option if you want to do more AoE damage. I still just, however, wouldn't really recommend it. And Zealous Ward, for the CC immunity, you can still get knocked back during this, so just keep in mind that tied with Gravity Vortex, which Gravity Vortex does give you immunity to knockbacks too. Don't want to overlap these, but it's nice to have 12 seconds of CC immunity if you time it well. Since I usually run double camo, Blade Blitz is really nice to have. Anytime that I'm not running Blade Blitz and like there's a healer or something like that, Guarded by the Force / Undying Rage is very, very, very good. 6 seconds of pretty much immunity to damage is incredibly powerful, especially when the cooldown is only 2 minutes and 30. Then final, sometimes I take the 1% heal, because it's actually not that bad. It gives you about 2k HPS if you have a decent uptime throughout the entire war zone. However, I take Stoic / Brazen just for the extra damage reduction and the extra centering when attacked, so that means you have Zen up even more, which then can even further alter your rotation to pretty much only using your highest damage abilities. So continuing on here, we're not going to worry about our passives because nothing has really changed all that much. So let's show you, hold on, get that out of the way, show you my gear. Since unfortunately Bolster is still really broken and augments don't actually do anything because we're stuck into mastery augments. These are about 286 mastery augments. Like we're forced into that no matter what. And Vichy is 1-to-1 to the PvP bolster, so if you're ever curious about testing your stats, so to get, I'm mostly in 306 from last expansion. I do have R20s and R2s, so my stats will definitely be different than the average person's, unless you have also, let's say R20s, so these are the enhancements. It's a lot more power, and then R2 mods. So what I recommend here is definitely use 306 still. There's a reason why I have this on. This gives you slightly better stats than 306, and then this gives you slightly better stats than 306. Then also these relics also give slightly better stats than 306. And then your implants, they are better, but even if they weren't, you would still want to wear them for the set bonus. So you see my stats. I'm using 1,000 alacrity, and that's only because alacrity seems to be a little buggy right now, but I won't get into that. But typically, you could go this, or you could go, 4,900 crit, or maybe put some accuracy with some crit. The problem is our crit rate is very low, for example, so 36%. That's terrible, and I get majority of my points into critical. Now, if we could have crit, if we could use crit odds, it'd be better, but it would only be so much better. Our crit's going to be kind of low no matter what until we get better gear. I hope they address that, maybe put critical back on our relics again. That would help a lot. But for the most part, Cauterized Coronary is pretty much your main DPS tactical that you'll use, and then double camo will be your alternate. And the reason why you would want to use double camo is for extra mobility and to relieve like being focused a lot, right? You have 6 seconds of camo and it automatically purges. So you've got the talents, the old talents that used to be, are just now built into Force Camouflage. So you can immediately just like re-break with camo if you need to, instead of just using predation, right? Because sometimes you might want to sit on predation. So for the most part, that's all for concentration. There's not really anything else to really cover. The only options that you really at least feel like you have is like occasionally you'll take Guarded by the Forest, occasionally you'll take the percent heal. Occasionally you'll take the centering over the Zealous defense. This one I swap all the time. It really just depends like how I want to play. And then I haven't tried Zenith yet. I'm very excited to try that. The AoE one is just amazing. So that's been a lot of fun to play with. I will jump over to my Marauder real quick just so I can show you the choices in case you guys do not play Sentinel. Okay. And here we are. We are now on Marauder. These are the talents that basically look like on, Fury. So this is the AoE, and this is the same thing as Zenith, Dark Synergy. This is something again I really want to try, and then this is Trauma one, which I don't feel like does as much as a gear. I would, however, say, for trauma purposes, if you need to like sit a healer the entire game, I think this is probably really good. Pretty much always have to take predation, taking the centering. I believe since I'm also taking on dying, I think I last played with like a friend or something. So double leap, dying is pretty much mostly the same. Like you would sometimes take AoE DR because it's not too bad, and then elemental damage reduction 3%. Hard to tell whether that's noticeable or not, but I'm sure it is. We pretty much will never take Fierce Power ever again. Part of the reason why I'm so happy that they changed with this update is that we don't really actually have to use this ability anymore. And used to plague Marauder a lot with Ghost and Phantom GCDs, which made it not as fun to play. Because when your meta build is centered around using an off the global cooldown ability and it randomly decides to go on the global cooldown, it really screwed you over damage wise. You do not have rage problems, so there's absolutely no reason to ever use this. Rage problems just don't exist, especially not anymore with this Furious Discovery. So for the most part, that's pretty much just Marauder. Obviously, probably take Mad Dash. If I'm running double camo, if I'm not running double camo, I'll take Undying. Other than that, if you guys have any questions about Marauder or Concentration, or maybe what I take for Carnage or Annihilation, which I have yet to really test out. I played one combat game, I think, and I don't think Carnage or Annihilation are doing too hot, so I would probably recommend against playing those specs right now. They could very much so easily get some love to make them more viable in PvP, but the problem is that Fury just keeps getting love over and over and over. It's just unfair at this point, I would say, for people that like, the other two specs of Marauder or Sentinel. Other than that, I appreciate you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. All right. Hello. Welcome to a new video. I'm going to be going over Carnage. Funny.